The servo is very simple. It's just 4 screws, and this will lift off. Just make sure that you remove this little screw here, so this will slide out. So that's the only thing really that you need to do. If you remove this, this will slide out. That way you don't have to remove this arm. You don't want to remove this arm. This is already set in place. So that being said, let me go ahead, well, I'll remove it so I can remove that. And I will just place the screw back in here. There we go. So this is now free. And we'll grab, oops, 2.5 and just remove these 4 screws. These screws are very similar to the engine screws. So that's something to keep in mind. I believe they're the exact same, so it may not matter if you mix them up. I'm gonna go ahead and compare one shortly. Yes, they are the same. And so then I'm going to remove these 2 screws. And I'm just trying to keep them together in a group. So I'm just making piles. You can always label them. You can always use masking tape and label them, put them in baggies, put names. Or if you have a parts bin, just put them in little bins. All right, so these are good. We'll set them off to the side. Those can stay there. And we've removed all the screws from the bottom. Let's see, we can go ahead and loosen the shock mount. Let's go ahead and do that. Well, here, let's see. Okay, so if I loosen the shock mount, that will get ready for the rear. All right, so let's go ahead and do that. I'm gonna go ahead and remove the shock mount. For the shocks, it's just gonna be those 2 screws there. Now, the other screw that's there, that's for this, for the roll bar. I'm not going to remove the roll bar at this time. It's just these 2 screws here on the side. Make sure that the shocks are not in compression, because if they are in compression, it's going to push that mount back as you're loosening, and you could damage the plastic. So that is something you want to keep in mind. All right. And here goes the next one. All right, so these I will keep different pile. All right, good. So this, let's see. 1, 2, perfect. So now let's go ahead and remove the shocks. And it's, excuse me, it's a 2.5mm driver still for the rear, 2mm for this section right over here. So if you needed to service the shocks, this is what you would do. Actually, to service the shocks, you just need to remove these 2 and those 2, and that is all. All right, so once you remove these 2, that whole mount is going to start lifting off the chassis, as you can see. All right, and these are really long screws, so make sure you don't mix those up. And this is now free. The wiring harness runs below this, so that's something to keep in mind when reinstalling. Make sure you don't nick any of those wires. You don't want to short any of them. This will simply just come out. So that can be cleaned. And at this point, I'm going to go ahead and remove the shocks, might as well. We'll remove these rear shocks, although I can leave them. And then just do with the rest of this, but we'll go ahead and take them off. All right. And these are a little longer, so I don't want to mix them. There. Compared to the ones that go below the front shock mount or the rear front. Here we go. All right. And that's it. So it's looking pretty bare now. Now in this case, to remove the rear, we still have some screws to go. We have 1, 2, and we have 3. Those are our main screws that we're going to be dealing with. And for these, it's 2.5. And if you needed to access the differentials, you actually only need to do this rear part. And let's see if there's a size difference between the middle and the other. No, so all 3 of these screws are the same. Let's see if I can, yes, I managed without sticking my head under the camera. Maybe not, spoke too soon. There we go. Perfect. All right. So we have that. Good. I'm just going to check everything. Something else that you can do to make things easier, you can remove the rear bumper. It's these 2 screws here. But at this point, I'm going to go ahead and see why. What am I missing? Why is this stuck? It should come out. Here, I'll go ahead and remove the skid plate. Skid plate, we have these 2. All right, 1, 2, and we have a few more. Let's see, there we go. All right. And I should have another one over here on the other side. Again, I'm trying not to put my head under the camera, so I can't really see where they are. There we go. All right, so the skid plate, this is what's gonna hold the arms. So we have the arms right in here. So that's something you will have to remove in order to clean these components. I'm gonna go ahead and remove the screws. There we go. And at this point, if you wanted, if you just needed to replace the arms, you could grab some pliers and then just pull on these. And these will just slide one way or the other if you wanted to. But right now, that is not our goal. So I'm going to go ahead and remove the rear bumper. If you remove the rear bumper, these 2 screws here are going to loosen these links. So these links are going to free up once I do that. I'm going to go ahead and use my 2mm driver. And remove those 2 screws. All right, so those screws are loose. And now I'm gonna flip the truck over. That's a lot of dirt. I'm gonna remove these top 2 screws. So you have 2 screws here on the top of the bumper. And once those come off, there we go, I'll be able to pull pull this out with those screws that hold the links. So this is how you would replace the links here. You would have to remove these screws here for the bumper. There we go, this came off. And then once you do that, these links are now loose. So that's how you would remove the links from here. All right. All right, so now at this point, we can go ahead and take the rear shock tower out. And the shock tower, so the shock tower is what's holding the top pins for the suspension. So this, you just have to gently pry it out. You don't want to break this. So if you grab a flathead, you can stick a flathead in there. Pliers, anything else. Actually, let me just see how these wires are. So these are just there, clipped on, so I just lifted. Am I missing a screw? No, I am not. It just needs a little more force. There we go. And it's dragging, the pin is stuck. There we go. Perfect. So this you will just pull out after you remove those screws. So it's just this screw here in the middle, and then remove it from the bumper, and that is it. Wow, this is quite dirty. All right, that's what you have. And at this point, this pin already came out. There's this plate, you're just gonna move out. I'm gonna place it so that the front is facing up, but so this is the front, this is the rear. To be honest, there is no difference except for the front is sharper. That's the only difference I can see. But that is it. So at this point, you can go ahead and remove these, and that'll loosen these, or you can just remove these, it's up to you. These are attached to the bulkhead right in here. This pin already came out. If I keep removing the pin, this is one of the top pins, this arm is now loose, so that's how you would replace the arm, right in here. Now in the front you have to be careful because there's some spacers, so don't just pull on the pins. That's something to keep in mind. Now on the bottom you have these short pins right here, and then you have the other short pins here in the front, and those we can just pull out. There's one, and they are the same length, so I'll have to clean them and maybe even grease them. All right, so my arms are loose. So now I can remove my arms right in here. And the rear does not have any spacers. Let me just go ahead and remove the arms before I remove the bulkhead. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove these here, up here. And again, trying to keep everything separate. All right. And these will lift. Now, be careful with the bearings. Don't lose the bearings. There's a bearing underneath, one on top, on the bottom, and these will just slide out, but they slide out at an angle, as you can see here. That is it. So we have the right side is off, and just need to remove this pin, and then we'll have the left side off. I'll need some bigger pliers. A lot of dirt that collected in there. Oh man. All right. So right now what I'm gonna do is these clips here, I'm gonna go ahead and open these up a little. Let's see. There. Oh, those clips didn't even do anything. So, you know the clips, you don't need to, just push down on this. Now, right now, the trouble is all of this dirt and this motor mount. See the engine mount. Let's see, did I remove the screws? I'm trying to see without sticking my head in there. And let me flip it. All right, so this should just slide out. Let me take this off. There we go. All right, sliding out. There. All right, perfect. So this just slides in and out from this motor mount, and that's pretty much it. So, all right, here we go. So this is it. This is what your suspension looks like. And this is how you would access the differential. So now that you have done this, you can go ahead and remove this screw. That'll be easy. You can go ahead and just take this one out. I'm gonna need some heavier duty pliers. But once you do this, you will have access. You'll have to remove these to have access to the differential. So at this point, let me remember. These should just come apart. So if you open these up, just remember the orientation on the differential. So this side goes on the left side. You'll want to mount this backwards. There's so much dirt in here. That's what's making this so difficult. All right. All right, there's one screw here in the back. I remember there was something. There's just so much dirt. There we go. All right. So there's just one 2mm screw in here that goes this way. So it goes left to right, so just remove that one. If I can get to it. There we go. There it is. All right. And now I have access to the differential. Now, I'm not going to do the differential yet. I need to clean this up because there's just too much dirt here, too much dust. Just remember this goes on the left side. I'll do the differential on the next one. But here is the bulkhead, and I'll remove this pin off camera and then come back. I need to clean up a little because this is too filthy.
What? Oh, my hair! My arm! My rod!